Our next speaker, Bob Myers, celebrity, the general manager from the Golden State Warriors. We've been fans since we were little kids growing up here in the Bay Area. Bob is in his 4th year as general manager of the Golden State Warriors, and I don't know about you, but talk about transformation. The last 3 years have been pretty damn good, so very exciting, and we know this year is going to be just as good. In this role, he reports directly to co-executive chairman and CEO Joe Lacob and oversees the entire basketball operations department on a day-to-day basis. He was named the 2014-15 NBA Executive of the Year for constructing a roster that won a franchise record 67 regular season games and won the 2015 NBA Championship, the team's first title in 40 years. We know what happened the next year, eclipsing the win or the number of wins in a season, and then last year winning the NBA championship again. I could go on, but you don't want to hear from me, so everybody, Bob Myers.
I'm glad you cut that short, especially the celebrity part. I don't even know what that means. I actually know what it means a little bit. Our team just went to Shanghai and Shenzhen in China. I don't know if you guys have been to China, but I've been to China a few other times, and it's an experience if you've never been. I don't know that I would plan my summer vacation to go there, but if you end up going there, you'll remember it. I remember it for they're crazy about basketball in China. They're crazy. And our fans are pretty good here in Oakland in the Bay Area and even in other cities now. But in China, it's rabid because they don't get to see us and touch us and be near us. And their culture is very kind of, if you've been on a subway there or in a bus, it's the space that they allocate between each person is not what we think is okay. So they're right next to you and they're right up in you. And so I joke about this celebrity thing. So here and there, because of our team, people will say, hey, thanks a lot. The Warriors are great. But that's fine. Nobody bothers me. But in China, I was there with my dad, and I never had done a foot massage. And I don't know if maybe the guys aren't comfortable with this, but foot massages are pretty good. I mean, if you've never done them, you should try a foot massage. Especially because they made it all dark in the room, and you can fall asleep, which I know every guy probably likes falling asleep if they can. Females probably you guys get foot massages or massages more often. Anyways, the point of the story is, to get to the foot massage, I had to go through a mall in China from the hotel. We were staying at the Ritz-Carlton in the financial Pudong district of Shanghai. So we were kind of rushed because I had to make the bus to go to the game. And so because of the fact that there were fans outside our bus and our hotel for 24 hours, all the time, all day and night. So for a brief few days, as I walked in and out, even me, now you can understand it for Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and all these people, they're celebrities, and they get mobbed. They cannot walk outside their hotel or anywhere, even here, but especially in China. It's not possible without security. You know, and if you experience that, if you've ever experienced that, it is not cool. You wouldn't like it. I wish we could all have that. The money for them is awesome, but not being able to walk from here to there by yourself isn't cool. So I experienced what that might be like because I had to make this foot massage appointment, but I knew that if I went outside, I couldn't get past those throngs. And then when I got to the mall, you literally get attacked. And not attacked like beaten up attacked, but pictures and autographs. And so I'm one of these people that if I need to be there in 10 minutes, I know exactly how long it'll take. But I had to factor in how long it would take to get through the mall, knowing that I would be grabbed by a multitude of Chinese boys and girls, men and women, fans. And I came back thinking, okay, that's what it's like to be somebody famous. And I thought, it sucks. Like, I wouldn't want it. I would not want that. I don't want it. I wouldn't want it. So for those of you that are thinking, I know you're not here to talk about what it'd be like to be a celebrity, but if that ever happens to you, you'll remember this. So I think what might be interesting for you guys to hear is, I know there's people from Southern California here and people from local. So I've done both. I lived in LA for 18 years. I went to UCLA. I grew up here though. So I'll tell you a little bit about my journey, my own journey, which to me, you know, it's my life. And as I look back on it, it's more interesting looking back than having lived to where I am. And then also our team, the transformation of our team. I was talking to Kathy outside. It sounds like your company is already pretty great. which is awesome. And then it's more about sustaining. For me in my life and for our team, the Warriors, we were never really that until now, until the last 2 or 3 years. We were always the ones looking up at the top saying, we can't climb that mountain, we can't get there. So I can relate more to that mentality of the underdog than sitting atop the mountain looking down and saying, we are the best and everybody's trying to be us. That's a little unfamiliar for me. I grew up here in the East Bay, and I was never really a great athlete. I was never the best player on my team. I knew who those kids were. I wished I was one of those guys or girls. And you guys probably know who they were too. But I never was. But I loved playing basketball. And that's all I really knew. For me, it was kind of a sanctuary. I would, when things weren't great, and we all go through ups and downs in childhood, I would go outside and shoot baskets. Like, that's what I would do. I don't know what you guys did. I'm sure you did something. You may draw, you may watch TV, you may listen to music. For me, it was playing basketball. So because I was drawn to it so much, I got good enough. I never got great, but I got good enough to where my senior year of high school, I was the best player on the team my senior year of high school. It's the only time in my life I've ever been the best at anything I've ever done was that 4 months of my life. And again, I didn't quite embrace that because it was very unfamiliar. And hopefully you guys have experienced, I think we all should get to be the best at something for a little while. Because it is a great feeling, especially if you've worked hard for it. I didn't get there through talent. I wasn't by any stretch the most talented player, but I love to play. And the lesson I learned from that experience was, if you work really hard at something, whether you're the top of your company or the bottom or the middle, the one thing I learned in my life is that hard work actually pays off. I promise that to everybody. Forget about anything else you hear. If you work hard at something, you'll get better at it. And 2, it'll pay off. The problem we have is that we live in a culture now, in a society that we want instant gratification, right? I worked hard for a week. I want the promotion now. What do you mean? I came in early for a week. I stayed late. Yeah, okay, you did it for a week. It's like a player coming to me and saying, why aren't I playing? I stayed after for 3 days. Yeah, but there's been people who staying after for 10 years that are better. Steph Curry, after every practice, does the same drill. He's done it for 9. I've known him been with the Warriors for 7 years. I've seen it every day. I've seen it when he wasn't playing. I've seen it was in the MVP. I saw it today. It's the same thing every day. That's how you become great. So for me, I didn't know any of that stuff. Nobody told me. I wish somebody would have told me something. I don't know if you guys had great mentors. My brother, who's my older brother, he'll send me things from time to time, and he sent me something recently that I thought was really cool, which for those of you who have kids or don't, he said, instead of asking our kids, what do you want to be, let's ask them who they want to be. I thought that was really interesting. That would have mattered to me if somebody had said that to me. I learned who to be. We learn it through our parents. We learn it through our friends, our society. But I think when you get asked that in 3rd or 4th grade, you say fireman, you say a policeman, you say whatever you say. You don't even know what you're saying. You don't know what it's like to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher, or anything. But you got to say something. But instead of what do you want to be, it's who do you want to be? Because if we can figure out who we want to be, we can probably become what we want to be. But we look at it a different way. We say, my goal is to be a lawyer. I don't care what kind of person I am. I'm going to be a lawyer. And then you end up, I am a lawyer too, and we get ripped because there's probably a lot of lawyers that should get ripped on. They do make life a little more difficult, but we need them. But again, that doesn't mean that should not be the goal, to become something as an occupation, to become something as a person. So for me, like I said, I thought I lost for those of you that play sports or do anything, I lost my basketball career ended in the worst way that one could end, short of an injury. We were playing in the playoffs of high school, and we went up 1 point. We thought we won the game. The clock ran out. The ball went out of bounds. Our fans rushed the floor. We were going on to kind of the semifinals of the state, which was a big deal for us. The referee said, get off the court. The game's not over. So we were celebrating, and they told all our fans, get off, get back up in the stands. We're putting 2 seconds on the clock. The ball rolled out of bounds, and the game is not over. So I'm guarding the guy who went on to play at Stanford, this guy, Mark Madsen. And there's moments in high school you never forget. There's moments in your life you never forget. I remember sitting there before the ball got inbounded, and I said, Mark, what are you guys going to, he was my friend. He was on the other team. He was my rival high school. I went to Monte Vista. He went to Center Mountain. And I said, what are you guys going to do? knowing he's not going to tell me. I said, what play are you going to run? And he said something like, and Mark was funny. He said, like, don't worry, baby. And I said, and he's a white guy. I don't know why he's saying this stuff or anybody says that. But he says, and so they threw the ball in. He caught it. I was guarding him. He shot it. He made it. We lost. Their fans stormed the court. And literally, like, it's one thing to lose at anything when you've worked really hard. But it's another thing to lose in that way that kind of sits with you forever, right? Forever. It never goes away. That's the thing about sports and about these pivotal moments in our life where things change. We don't want to tell our kids where you choose to go to college, who you choose to marry. These are the biggest decisions of your life. But we don't want to acknowledge that because that scares us, right? Like, I don't want to tell my daughters, there's going to be a moment in high school where you win or lose and you're never going to forget it. That's too much to handle, I think. That's too much to tell somebody that's a kid. It's too much to think about as an adult sometimes. But that was the end of my basketball. The thing I loved more than anything was over that night. That's when it ended, because I wasn't good enough to go to college. I wasn't good enough to go play anywhere, for that matter. So I was going to UCLA. I applied to all these schools, not for basketball, and I walked into UCLA, and there was an athletic department. My brother rowed crew at Washington, and I walked into the athletic department with my dad, and I said, let's go, maybe I'll do something in college, like a sport, but not, I can't play basketball at UCLA. They're too good. So I walked over to the desk, and there was one guy sitting there, a young guy, and he happened to be the administrative assistant of the basketball team. So my dad and I said, do you know where the rowing department is? We were thinking my son was going to maybe try out. And he said, I don't think we have that sport here. I don't know if we have crew, or maybe it's a club sport. A club sport means it's not identified with the school, but it's kind of off campus. And then he looked at me, and I was about an inch shorter than I am now, and he said, why don't you try for the basketball team? And that'd be, I don't know how to properly say that would be, we all in high school probably did something. If you were a dancer, that'd be like the equivalent of the New York or Joffrey, the San Francisco Ballet going, why don't you try out for us? And you go, yeah, that's nice, but that's not, I can't do that. Or if you were an athlete, Alabama football, if you're a football player, why don't you come play for us? You go, no, nobody's recruiting me. I'm not going to be able to play for the best football team in the country like that. What do you thank you, but I would embarrass myself. So in any event, my response to that was, I can't play at UCLA. I'm not good enough. And he said, why don't you just try out? We take one guy as a walk-on every year. And I said, yeah, but even that guy or whoever, I can't, the only thing I am is tall. And he said, I said to him, I said, what about if I could be the manager of the team? And he said, why don't you just try to play? So here again, right? In our lives, I sit up here and people say I did what I did for the Warriors, and I did my part, I do my part, but people help us, right? That conversation changed my life because one guy was saying to me, and I was saying, I can't do that. Thank you, but I can't do it. One person saying, yes, you can, right? And to be honest, I love my parents. They're together, been married, I don't know, almost 50 years. I didn't really get that. They told me to work hard. They taught me more through action than words to pursue something I love. But my dad worked for the same company for 40 years. The direction was get an education and get a job. It wasn't chase your dream. It wasn't find something you love to do, help people. It wasn't any of that. And again, I love how they raised me. But as a father, I'm not going to give that message to my kids. I'm not going to say get a job. I'm going to say it in a different way. I'm going to say get a career, find something you love. Because I'm sitting there with an opportunity. Somebody in front of me is telling me, you can do this, and giving me this opportunity. And I'm saying, no, I can't. Because how did I get there to that place where I'm saying, thank you, but no, I can't. But you know what? I did try to walk on. And here's how it worked. I showed up early, and for the first month, you're not allowed to play with a ball. So we just ran. All we did was run and get in shape. That's it. That's not fun. Like, if you're playing basketball, you want to dribble the ball, you want to shoot it, you want to play. We just conditioned. Track, weight room, gym. The players that were on scholarship were so much better than me in every capacity, and they were the ones that the school would basically like do anything. They said, please come to UCLA. You're the best. The Bannon brothers, these are like the best. They could have gone to any college they wanted to. So I'm sitting there on the side, like, not afraid to say anything to them, trying to stay out of their way, knowing I have no business being there. I go back to my dorm room, and my friends and everybody goes, what are you doing trying to play basketball at UCLA? Why don't you just join a fraternity and have fun? Like, you're not gonna make the team. And I'd say, something inside of me said, I'm at least gonna try. But I promise you, like, nobody was telling me this is a good idea. Nobody was saying, you know, I wasn't listening to Tony Robbins in the background. I wasn't doing anything. I was just like, maybe it is a stupid idea. But I kept doing it. And, you know, the people, it's interesting. It's a little bit like the tortoise and the hare. I love that fable because it's so powerful in that if we keep inching along in life, we pass the hare. We will pass the person that got this start that we think we could have never gotten. So I just kept kind of, San Antonio Spurs are really successful. They call pounding the rock. Everybody can apply that to their career, like just pounding the rock. One day the rock breaks, but for 1,000 days, you're not doing anything. You're just hitting it and you're going, nothing's happening. So that's what I was doing. And I remember the day that there was the actual tryout. And the coach called me over and he said, it was about 100 and something people, and I played and I did okay. And the coach showed up, the head coach sat in a chair, pulled his paper out, watched for about 5 minutes. You know, you kind of look over and see if he wasn't even really watching. And then they called me over and they said, the coach said, hey, what's your name? And he said, congratulations. And he got up and walked away. And I remember thinking, there's these, like for me, it might have been winning our championship. It's like the birth of your kid. There's these moments again in your life where you go, it's too much to process. It's a promotion you never thought you were going to get. It's your first kid. It's when your spouse said yes, or when your husband asked you to marry him. It's these moments where you go, I can't. And I'm not even good at that anyway. I don't know. You guys might be better. I'm not good at like taking all that in. It takes time for me to look back and go, wow, that was huge. So my way of dealing with those, I didn't tell anybody. I went back to my room, and my roommate was like, so? And I go, I don't know. And he says, how do you not know? And I said, I don't know. And he said, what did they say? I said, they said I made the team. And he says, well, then you effing do know. And I said, yeah, but I don't know if it's real. And he said, what do you mean you don't know if it's real? And I said, it doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not supposed to be on UCLA's basketball. It doesn't make sense. And he goes, well, are you on the team or not? And I said, I think I am. And he said, what is the confusion? I said, are you going to practice? Because practice was starting. And he said, you get a uniform? And I said, they asked me what number. And he said, then you get a uniform, you know. So I ended up, like, I'm not lying. I ended up telling my parents, like, 4 days later. And I really trickled out the news because I didn't think it was going to stay that way. I thought somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder and be like, yeah, you really think you made the team? You're no chance, you know. I thought that's what was coming. But again, something inside of me, like I imagine a lot of you have, maybe because I was chasing something I was so passionate about, or maybe my one quality was hard work. Maybe that was the only thing that we all get blessed with something, some quality that we have, some characteristic, and maybe that was mine that helped me get there. So my career at UCLA, I never played. I was the guy, my first year, as a freshman, we had a band at UCLA. A lot of colleges have bands. And when we would be up 30 or down, we were actually not down 30 ever, but whenever the point when the game was that putting me in the game could not have impacted the score at all. Like, nothing I could have done, could have put any of you guys in the game, and you couldn't have lost the game for us because it wasn't possible. It's not possible to score 30 points in 50 seconds. And the band would kind of cheer they had this chant for me, some B.O.B. bot, something they did, which again, I'm not, if you were there in the mid-90s, you know what I'm talking about. But, you know, kind of embarrassing. Like, you don't really want to be that guy. You know, so, but I was like, look, I'm playing on the team, and I shouldn't be playing much. I'm not good enough. But I stay with it. My sophomore year, We lost in the first round of the tournament that year, which was, we were supposed to be better. And we lost to a team, we got killed. And I'll get to this point later, but when we lost that game, we were in the locker room, and I looked around the locker room. We had a really talented team. And I saw how we lost. It's important how you lose. It's important how you feel failure. And I'll talk about that with the Warriors. I looked around the locker room, and I said, if that guy comes back, and there's a guy on our team, Ed O'Bannon, and I said, if that guy comes back, I think we're going to win the championship the following year. I've only ever thought that twice in my life. The group I was part of, if you guys were competing, and I've been involved in competition at UCLA and now with the Warriors, only twice I've ever said, I think we're going to win the championship. That year, coming off that loss, my sophomore year at UCLA, I thought we were going to win. And we did win because of how we lost, if that makes sense to you, because how we dealt with losing. We went on the following year to lose only 2 games. We won the NCAA tournament. And that, again, you talk about your life, like you win a championship in sports, and it's not a lot of things stay. Your graduation, like I said, your kids, there's certain moments, but it's not the ring, it's not the whatever it is. It's the fact that I know we won and we put in the work. But still, I didn't play. I mean, I played in the Final Four game for like 15 seconds in the semifinal game. So now I'm starting to hear people go, what are you doing? You're never going to play. Right? You're never going to, well, yeah, okay, now you won a championship. Like you're one of the 12 guys, you have a ring, you're on the UCLA team, you have a championship. Now let's just hang out, have a good time. And I said, I actually like practice, guys. Like I don't play I'm not going to the NBA, I don't play for money. I do like practicing though. Like it's fun for me. I like it'd be like you guys saying, I like going to work. It's not about the one important meeting, it's like everything leading up to it I liked. So I kept doing it. In my junior year, the coach had never said anything to me in the first half of a game. Because the first half of the game's still undecided. We don't know who's going to win or lose. And I remember we were playing a game, and it was probably 4 or 5 games into the season, and the coach goes, Myers. And I thought, first of all, I was thinking, why is he calling my name? Like, what is he doing? And then he said it again, and I'm thinking, shit. I was thinking, I'm cheering. Like, why does he, did I do something wrong? Am I, like, is my foot on the floor? Do I not have the right warm-up jacket on? Or does somebody need some water? So so the assistant coach goes, the coach is calling your name. And I said, I know, what do you want me to do? And he says, go in the game. And I was thinking like, oh shit. I'd never been in the first half of a game in my life in college. And I was a junior, and the game we were actually losing the game. Not by a lot, but we were losing by 5, 10 points. But the starters, he was sick of them. They weren't trying. It's like, you guys are out. So he put me in. And crazy story, I scored 20 points in the game, which prior to that moment, I had scored 20 points over a 2-year period. So in one game, I eclipsed like my career total of points. But it was one of those things where like, there's a lot of great quotes. John Wooden has one, Lincoln has one. He says, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So everybody goes, oh, you're so lucky. And to be honest, I was lucky. The ball bounced my way. I met just when you play a sport, sometimes things go your way. It just happens. And it went my way. And it was, again, one of those moments where I had to do the press conference. The media had never asked me one question in my life. So now I'm sitting up in front of a thing like, where have you been? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why the coach put me in. But it went my way. And I think it's Jefferson or Lincoln. It says, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Again, it comes down to like these moments. It's all the moments before the moment, right? It's all the moments. Somebody asked me today, they said, there's another NBA team dealing with a player discipline issue. Player wants to be traded. They said, what do you do in that situation? I said, the sad thing is, I'm not sure what anybody can do when it gets to that point. So people ask me, and I'll get to this later, how did we sign Kevin Durant? He's a really good player. Why did he go to the Warriors? It's the things we did years before. It's not what we said in a 1-hour meeting in the Hamptons. It's the moments that we had 5 years before that lead to you don't go into a meeting and close a business deal because you just said some wonderful words that day, right? It's because you came with a reputation, your company came with a reputation, and you were confident, and they knew who you were when you walked in the room, and in some ways, you moved the needle 5%. It's rare that we move the needle 100%,
They don't like us. They don't know who we are. We come in, boom, we sweep them off their feet. That's very rare. So my point is, for me, in that moment at UCLA, it was everything I'd done prior to that in the face of not a lot of encouragement, right? Not a lot of like, you can do it, you're on your way. It was more of an inner thing. Like this is, I believe in myself, and I don't know where that came from, and that's why I'd like to impart it to my kids and other people. But from there, I played in all the games because the coach had confidence in me. And by the time I was a senior, I started 5 or 6 games. So it would have been a lot easier to, never tried, right? And my life would have been completely different, because from UCLA, I met a guy, my head coach introduced me to a guy who was a sports agent who had some UCLA players, but he represented them. They were actually NBA players. But I went to work for him, and through him, I met a guy named Danny Ainge. And Danny Ainge he's the general manager of the Boston Celtics. He played in the NBA. And because of my work as an agent interacting with Danny when he was the Boston GM, when Joe Lacob bought the Warriors, I asked him, I said, can I meet the new Warriors owner? Because I grew up here, and the Warriors I work for them, but it's actually not ideal because they're my favorite team, which you think would be great. But I don't get to enjoy this as much as I would if I was just a fan. I got to go, one of our owners is part owner of the Dodgers. So I went to the World Series game last night. And I was so happy because I didn't care so much. I mean, I didn't care. I wanted to see the baseball game. When we play in the NBA Finals, it's like the equivalent of you guys, I don't know how much money we all have differently, it'd be the equivalent of you betting $200,000 on the game. Whatever makes you really uncomfortable, whatever number that is, that's how I feel when we play in the NBA Finals. I mean, it's not because money's riding on it, it's because years of work is riding on that outcome. And so for me to go last night was fantastic. So in any event, I think that as we kind of go through these things and we experience our life, it's important to kind of understand that what it took to got to that place. So when I called Joe Lacob through Danny Ainge, I said, can I meet with you? And he said, for what? And I said, I'm a Warriors fan. I'd love to just meet with you and talk to you. So I went there and I talked to him, and we ended up talking for a little while. And he said, well, what could you even do for the Warriors? And I said, I worked as an agent. I played basketball. I just love the Warriors. I mean, I think I can help you. And I left the meeting thinking, and I'm not underselling this stuff. Like when I say these things, like I wasn't some really good basketball player and I'm downplaying it. I wasn't like, oh, UCLA really wanted me and they called me. Everything I'm saying is authentic. So when I left talking to Joe Lacob, who's our owner, I got in the car with my dad and he said, how'd it go? I said, that's not happening. And he said, maybe I have a confidence issue. And then he says, why not? I said, we just talked about like, I don't even know what I can do. I don't even know what he's looking for. But 3 months later, he called and he said, when we met, were you serious about helping me? I said, yeah, I mean, I was. And he said, well, what can you do? What can you do? I said, I don't know. I mean, let's talk about it. I said, I've got a bunch of NBA clients, so I can't have this be public like that I'm leaving them. So maybe let's take a day to see if we can make it work. And I've asked him since then, 7 years ago. It was 2010. So 7 years ago, I said, why did you even call me back? He bought the Warriors for the most expensive price in the history of the NBA. He bought them for $450 million. He could have hired anybody that had done the job before. He could have easily done that. That's probably what I would have done. But he hired a guy that had never done it. And by the way, we've hired 2 coaches that have never coached. We hired Mark Jackson, never coached anything. Steve Kerr, never coached anything, ever. Not high school, not college, not NBA, not assistant, no level of experience. So that tells you something too about our ownership and how they envision things, and even me. And that's the important part about people, right? We're hiring people. Yes, experience matters for sure. I think experience matters a lot. But as we go through our life, we meet people, we talk to people, and we get a sense of who they are. 2 good stories. So you talk about what makes a company, and this is bleeding into the Warriors. So I've been with the Warriors for 6 or 7 years. When I got there, we were not you guys. I don't know how many people are in your category, but if there were 30 and you were 1, the Warriors were 25 to 30 every year. And we had a couple upticks, but no exaggeration, if someone said the Warriors are going to win 2 championships in 2015 and 17, I think either the reaction would have been laughter or disgust, like, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, nobody would think that. Nobody would think that. I wouldn't think that. When our owner bought the team in 2010, I wasn't working for the team because he had the team for a year. One of the first things he said was he looked at a banner up in our arena, and it's 1975 was the last time we'd won a championship, and he said, see that banner up there? That's a lonely banner. We need to get more of those. And I watched that happen on TV, and me, Warriors fan, I said, what is this guy talking about? Like, we don't win championships at the Warriors. And I said, that's crazy. But I need people like that around. You can sense my personality. I need people like that around me. So it's also identifying people that you need, leaders that you need, like a team. Steph Curry shoots the ball great. Without a guy like Draymond Green who does all the tiny little things on our team, Steph Curry doesn't win a championship. Without the stuff that Klay Thompson does to guard the other team's best offensive player on the perimeter, we don't win a championship. So it's not like your company. It's not, you don't have people of the same temperament, same skills, right? You have leadership that hopefully complements each other. That's what we try to do when we build a team. So when Steve took the job, when you talk about leadership in a company, this is where I think this story probably exemplified. There's two stories that I think are my favorite. We had signed a guy named Andre Iguodala, and he had made a lot of money, $100 million in his career, all-star, Olympic gold medalist. We had a chance to sign him, and it was a pretty transformative thing for us. We had built a decent team, but we had never attracted a free agent. Nobody had ever raised their hand and said, I want to go play there. A player that could go play probably wherever they wanted to. A free agent, they call him, in demand. So it was a big moment for us. So we signed this guy, and he came. And the first year he was with us, he started, which he should have started. The starters are your 5 best players. He was probably one of our 3 best players. So we ended up losing in the first round of the playoffs. We had some injuries, whatever, we lost. So the next year we hired a new coach, Steve Kerr. So Steve called me and he said, what do you think about bringing Andre Iguodala off the bench? And I thought, I don't know. I mean, why are we doing? I mean, he's one of our better players. I mean, he's clearly one of our 5 best players. And he said, if we bring him off the bench, I think it makes us better as a team, and it'll make the guy in front of him better, the guy named Harrison Barnes. He's better starting than Andre is starting, so we need to do this. And just so you know, that's the equivalent of whatever your position is in your company. It's the equivalent of the CEO or owner saying to you, look, I know you're the VP, and you deserve it, and you're great, but we're going to knock you down to the director level, and it's going to be on SportsCenter tonight. I'm sorry, like, people are going to find out, and your friends are going to say, what the hell's going on? And every time you get in front of a microphone, they're going to ask you. Not only they're going to do this. Hey, Andre, how do you feel about not starting? Shouldn't you be starting? Aren't you one of the best 5 players? I mean, you're an all-star. What's going on? You're going to get asked that, and then after you answer that, which he did in a very humble and professional way, hey, you know what? This is best for the team. I'm trying to win a championship. This is what coach says. This is what I'm doing. Then the guy's going to turn off his microphone and go, all right, seriously, come on. Like, this is bullshit. You got to be starting. And then Andre's going to have to go in that moment. He's going to have to say, it's the best for the team. Like, yeah, sure, I'd love to start, but this is what the coach is saying. This is what we're doing. And he's going to go home to his family and friends, and they're going to say, why aren't you starting? And he's going to say, this is what's best for the team. Well, aren't you one of the best players? Well, I mean, yeah, but this is what's best for the team. Fast forward, 2015, we're in Cleveland. We're down 2-1 in the NBA Finals. We haven't won a championship in 40 years. Steve Kerr at the team breakfast that day, all year long, we've brought Andre Iguodala off the bench. All year long, for 92 games, whatever. He says to me, I'm thinking about starting Andre. And I was thinking, oh man, okay. Like, it's a big change after having played the whole season and been pretty successful without him. And not only does he say that, he says, I'm thinking about starting him for Bogut. And I was thinking, who's going to play center? And he said, well, Draymond. I'm taller than Draymond Green. That's not great that he's our center in the NBA Finals. But more importantly, I said, you think that'll work? And he goes, yeah, I think we need to get going. We lose this game, we're probably done. We need to get going. And I said, all right, yeah, I'm with you. Like, that's what you want to do it. So we start Andre in Cleveland, game 4. We start the game down 8-0. And I forgot to say, when I asked him, where'd you come up with this? He says, Nick Uren told me to do it. It was a good idea, Nick Uren. I said, Nick's like the video guy. And this is what's the best thing about Steve. He goes, I know. He's like, it's a good idea. And I said, all right, it's only the NBA Finals. And so we started the game down 8-0. And, you can see it, people questioning it. Or you can, I'm going, what are we doing? We end up winning the game. We end up winning the finals. But we end up winning that game. And in the press conference, there's more people than this in an NBA final. There's hundreds of people, and you're sitting up there with a microphone in front of you, and they're asking you questions. It's international, it's domestic. And they said, Steve, what about the Iguodala? What about starting him? And he says, yeah, that was Nick Uren gave me that idea. And you can see all the media going, what? They're like flipping through their media guide, and he's not in there. How do you spell that? It's U-R-E. And yeah, Nick, who's he? And Steve said, yeah, he came up with that, and we decided we talked about it. It was a good idea. And here's the story, right? This is the better story, the best part of the story. Let's say we had lost. Let's say we'd lost. He would have never mentioned Nick Uren's name. You would have never heard it. They said, Coach, what about starting Iguodala? He would have said, yeah, you know what? I thought about it, and for me, that was just a gut call, or that was what I thought was right, and I went with it. When things are bad, it's I screwed up. I take the blame. I should have been better. When it's a good thing, as a leader, you praise others. You give credit. You don't say, many people would have said, many people in that moment, most people would have said, yeah, you know what? I thought about it. Some people were against me, but I thought it was the right thing to do to start Iguodala. I knew I'd take some flack if we lost, but it ended up working out. That's probably a more stock answer from a head coach. But in that moment, what we don't realize as leaders or anybody in the company, there's transcendent moments where you set your culture. People talk about culture. Like, what is culture? It's people. Who are your clients? They're human beings. Who are your customers? They're people. When you go into a meeting, it's with other people. So when you talk about why people like your product or don't, it's because of you. It's because of how you relate to them. It's the same as our team. And we embody it probably more because we deal in human being, that's what it is, what makes us succeed or fail directly. It's not technology. We can talk about analytics, and if you guys have questions about that, we employ analytics, but it's really the people in our organization. And when you talk about people, I think what we sometimes miss is, who are the best people? Who are the best people to have in an organization? To me, it's the ones that are the best when things are the worst, right? Like when adversity comes in your life, whether it's personal or professional, when adversity, our best friends are probably the ones that showed up when things were the worst. Those are our friends, really. We can talk about acquaintances, we can talk about whatever we want. When things are bad, when you got fired, when something happened to you, when something happened to your family, who called you, who showed up? That's who people are. It's not who they are when something awesome happened. That's good too. But it's when things are bad, who are you? So when I try to build our team and we try to construct a roster, I don't want to know who's going to be the best at celebrating. I want to know who's going to turn tail when things are bad. So we lost. We lost the following year after we won it, 2016. We won 73 games, most games in the history of the league in the regular season. We lost the NBA Finals. We were up 3-1. All we had to do was win one more game. 2 of them were at home, and we lost. And it's considered like the most catastrophic loss in the history of professional sports. Like, we were supposed to win. We were favored. Like I said, we won more games in the history of the entire league. Everybody was just like waltzing us to the championship. So we lost. So I was driving home that night. It was a Sunday. And when our season is over, I meet with all the players. And I say, talk to them about the season, about whatever. And I remember driving home going, tomorrow's going to be interesting because I'm going to find out who we are as a team. Because it's just me and them. It's the debriefing after you went into a meeting that was the biggest meeting of the year, and there was 5 or 10 of you, and I get to meet with each of you, and you get to say whatever you want. And so I'm going to find out who's going to blame someone else. I'm going to find out who thinks they screwed up, what they could have done differently. I'm going to find out all of it because people want to talk, especially in an environment like where it's very, very raw when you just lose in that capacity. So I remember thinking that this is going to be interesting because one of our best players had been suspended for one of the games. So I wanted to see, are they going to blame him? Steph Curry had come off an injury in the playoffs, and in his own words, he said he could have played better. Are they going to blame Steph? Are they going to blame Clay? He could have shot better. He's a better shooter. Who are they going to blame? Are they going to blame the coach? They're going to blame me. I don't know. Blame their wife. I don't know who they're going to blame. But they're going to blame someone. I wanted to know. As far as evaluating people, that's the best time. So I sat there, and I remember sitting, and I remember sitting across from Steph and Draymond and all these guys, and I've never been so proud to be part of something because no one did any of that. No one said, well, you know what, if Draymond would have played, we would have, I can't help he got suspended. If he would have just kept his brain, we would have won. Draymond didn't say, if Steph would have shot better, what do you want me to do? Yeah, I got suspended, but come on, we had chances. Nobody said any of that stuff. And in that moment, like I talked about at UCLA, when you see how someone loses, you can also project how they'll win. And so I got to see that. And then everybody was talking about Kevin Durant. So I got to ask Steph, in our sport, in our business, there's a thought of fame, celebrity, money should take place over winning. Averaging more points is better than winning. Getting more shoe deals is better than winning. There's a narrative that's driven that way. It's true. We even unconsciously celebrate, like, that guy hit a ton of home runs. Well, his team didn't make the playoffs. Like, so what do we? But there's a big part of our culture that says, hey, who cares? He's great. The team sucks. Who cares? But I asked Steph, I said, if we get a chance to meet with Kevin Durant, do you want to go? Now, he's a smart guy. He knows that will take some of his shine or spotlight away. Because that's like saying to Bono or somebody, like, do you want to, share the stage with Paul McCartney? I mean, you know what's coming. Like, this is two lead singers in a band. Some people would say, no, that's my deal. Yeah, this guy's a great singer, but I want a drummer, I want a bass, and I want a guitar. I'm singing this for this band. But Steph, and this is why you could never have these conversations via the phone, email, text message. So here's why text message, forget about email. You'd never do this via email. Text message, hey, Steph, if we get a meeting with Durant, do you want to do it? Will you show up? So let's say he says, sure. I don't know if he did that like this. Bob wants me to meet with Durant. Are you kidding me? Sure, whatever. Types it, puts it in his pocket. Or if it's, sure, yes, we might get a meeting with Durant. This is why these things need to be done. I don't know, so I sat with him. And in person, we do the same thing. Hey, Steph, if we get a meeting, so he could have done this. He could have done the same thing. Yeah, man, if you want to. Yeah, I'll go. I mean, do you want me to go? Do I have to go? When are you going? Yeah, I don't know. Let me know when it's closer. He could have said, look, man, I don't know. Let me think about it. The body language, right, would tell me all I needed to know. And that was whatever his body language was going to determine whether we were going to take that meeting or not. But this was his body language. Looked at me and goes, yeah, I want to meet with him. I'll go. That's how you find out. One, I found out who he is. I didn't think he was anybody else, but now I know I don't ever have to question who he is. And I found out the answer to the question. Do we want to change our team? And there's a great commencement speech that my brother sent me to by John Roberts. And it's relevant here because it talks about what do we do with adversity, right? Like, who are we when adversity strikes? And I think that's the lesson as far as how do we succeed in life? Like, how do we overcome? How do we be great all the time? It's who are we when things are the worst? So this is what John, I think this guy's brilliant. But anyways, he says, he was speaking at a commencement speech to graduates of college. He said, now the commencement speakers will typically also wish you good luck and extend good wishes to you. I will not do that, and I'll tell you why. From time to time in the years to come, I hope you will be treated unfairly, so that you will come to know the value of justice. I hope that you will suffer betrayal, because that will teach you the importance of loyalty. Sorry to say, but I hope you'll be lonely from time to time, so that you don't take friends for granted. I wish you bad luck, again, from time to time, so that you will become conscious of the role of chance in life and understand that your success is not completely deserved and that the failure of others is not completely deserved either. And when you lose, as you will from time to time, I hope every now and then your opponent will gloat over your failure. It is a way for you to understand the importance of sportsmanship. I hope you'll be ignored, so you know the importance of listening to others, and I hope you'll have just enough pain to learn compassion. Whether I wish these things or not, they're going to happen. And whether you benefit from them or not will depend upon your ability to see the message in your misfortunes. So the point is, maybe bad things have happened in your life, and maybe they're bad in personal ways, maybe they're professionally bad. It's, in a way, they're going to happen, which he's right. They've either happened to you or they're going to happen. They've happened to me. And we get a choice to how we react. It doesn't mean if something terrible happens, you don't grieve, you don't suffer. I got the phone call, I hope none of you have ever had this, but it was midnight, and my wife's phone rang, and she woke me up, and there was her father on the line telling us on speaker that her brother had died. He was 33 years old, tragically, out of nowhere. And it's sad to me that for me, empathy was not a strong suit of mine. It took that, right? It took that for me to, if anything's happened to you, to really understand, like, if you've suffered loss, deep loss, that's what it took for me to understand where you're coming from. If that didn't happen to me, I would have no clue, right? So this message is, as we go through this whole thing we go through professionally, personally, it's great things are going to happen. Great things have happened to you guys. You're here. It's awesome. You work for a great company. Really, really hard things are going to happen. Both are going to happen. It's easy to be great when things are great. For us at the Warriors right now, they're great. Who are we, who am I, when things are not? Who's your company? Maybe you're here. What if you drop down? The message is it's fine, right? Because give me any quality group of people, and we can handle anything. Give me a quality family, and we'll persevere. Give me a family that's not quality, and they will not make it. Give me a group of people, give me a team that faces the longest odds but is together and is high character. I'll bet on that team all day long. I've said it all the time. I said, my teams have won, lost. I say it like, I'll lose with those guys any day. I'll happily lose with those people. I'd rather lose with those people than win with those people, because that winning is BS. That's not going to last, because I know who those people are. So for us at the Warriors, and I'm happy to answer specific questions, for me, how you build something like your company, how you build a culture, it's people, it's defining people, it's humility, it's leadership, it's all those things. And I think with all that, one, it's more fun. It's a lot more fun to succeed with people. It's even more fun to fail with people than by yourself. That's why team sports, that's why you see Michael Phelps, when he wins a relay race, he goes crazy. When he wins a race by himself, he's like, yes, yes. When the relay wins, he's jumping up and down. Same thing as the Ryder Cup. They go insane in golf. Davis Cup in tennis. All protocols out the window, all decorum. They're screaming around like little kids. There's nothing like team sports. And you guys work with teams. That's why it's more fun. But there's responsibility to being on a team. There's highs, there's lows. And I think and I don't sit here telling you, like, this is how you need to be, or I only sit here telling you, like, my story, which I think has a lot of lessons in it that I wish I had heard, so I could have at least walked through it a little differently. And I'm still, as you guys know, the older we get, I'm the less sure every day the older I get, because things happen, and you go, wow, I thought I knew what that was about, but I have no clue. So as we go through it, I think we go through it with some of these thoughts. I think it can be really helpful. And again, you guys are in a position of success. And I told our team, I spoke to our employees, and I said, we're the house in the neighborhood where everybody wants to hate us now. So we have to be nicer. Like, we're the house on the hill where they say they got everything. So they're looking for reasons. That's why I told Steph Curry, you can't throw your mouthpiece at the referee. You know, like that's not who you are. That's not, you got kids at home. Like, what are you going to tell? He told me today, he said, I said, what'd you say to Riley? And he said, oh, when I got home, she had a huge temper tantrum, like about something else. And I said, well, wait, I go, what are you going to say? Like, Daddy had one too? You know, like that. It's just, he said, I had to pay $50,000. And I said, yes. But in any event, that's my story. That's our story. Thank you guys for listening. And I'm happy to answer whatever questions you want. So thank you. I don't know how. Yeah, sure.
Do you remember the guy's name that told you to play?
Oh, yeah, Steve Lavin. Yeah. I should probably say that, but yeah. You know him?
No.
Yeah.
I found him to be
Yeah. Yeah. And he ended up being my head coach. He started off in that position, and then by the time I was a senior, he was my head coach. So he kind of rose through. So, yeah. Yes?
Question. So you mentioned that at the end of the year when you guys lost, you knew the next year you were going to win it, right?
Yeah.
So what did you think at the end of last year when you got in again this year?
That's a good, I got asked that because I told our coaches, prior to last year, there was a coaches retreat, and I said that. And then we had some new coaches. I said, I think we're going to win the championship this year. I didn't say it publicly. I said it privately. And some of them looked at me like, that's a lot of pressure. And I said, I've only ever said it one other time in my life. I'm just saying what I feel. I didn't say it this year, and some of them asked me, why didn't you say it? I said, because I don't know. I don't know how to answer. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes in life we kind of know. It doesn't mean we're not, but I don't know it like I knew it before. I don't know if that makes sense.
So you always said you were never good in basketball, and you have all these people around you say, what are you doing? What are you doing? Was it your inner will, or you were talking to yourself and you kept going, or was it just for fun?
Well, I'm pretty driven, like as far as just, I think if we really enjoy a pursuit, for you, there's some pursuit you have, right? Or whatever it is, I don't know what it is. And I think if we can like chase that, it doesn't feel hard. Even though there might be people around us that are saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? For me, it felt right to kind of pursue this, even knowing that, probably believing it wasn't going to end well. I guess for me, the only thing we can do, you don't get a deal, you don't get promoted. The only way I can live with myself is to say, I did everything I could. Like if you fail an exam, you can fail, I can fail, but if I can fail and say, I studied my ass off, like I did every single thing I could, I still failed. When I took the bar exam, and the bar exam is a disaster, for those of you that are lawyers, it's a disaster, it's so hard. My objective was, whether I fail or pass, I'm not going to say I should have studied more. That is not going to be, I'm not going to walk out of that room and say I should have studied more. I'm going to say I failed or passed. I'm going to say I did the best I could. That's all I'm going to do. And I passed, which didn't want to take it again. But I think that's what it was. I think it was, yeah, it was mine. And I think the lesson, as I look back on like things I would have done differently, I think who we surround ourselves with is so important. And Jim Rohn, not Rome, said that you're the average of the 5 people you spend most time with. Like that sounds cliche, whatever. If you take, like for me, playing at UCLA, I didn't belong there, but I was playing with the best players in the country, so I got better. Yeah, they made me better. Like I can't, if you took the 5 smartest people and you said, I'm gonna hang out with these people for a year, you don't think you're gonna get smarter? Or if you take 5 idiots and you hang out with them, you're gonna get dumber. You know, like you're gonna go, I can't even talk the same. You know, I'm getting stupider every day. So I think that's our choice. We get to decide who we hang out with. I don't think we do a great job of it. I don't think we do. I think we get to choose who our friends are. We get to decide. And there's a lot of great people running around. But I kind of like wish I had a kind of somebody that I could have been. And like I said, my parents weren't anything probably much different. And maybe you guys had the parents that were like, go get them. You can do it. Mine were good in the way they're like, do what you want to do. It's your life. Not in the callous way, not like I don't care what you do. But it was, you can play. If you want to play, go play. That may be the ownership part, whereas I think now I see, I'm a young parent, but like our kids, sad story, but like you take Tiger Woods and you go, here's people that, so I'm around professional athletes all the time, right? The best, they make the most money, they're the most famous, whatever. So you go, I'm gonna make my kid be one of them. I'm gonna make my kid be famous. Like I'm gonna push him in that direction. And I don't know really what Tiger Woods, who he is or whatever he is, but if you want to look at a case study and somebody that was told you're going to do this, and he was the best. He was the best at his, maybe one of the best ever. But I'm not sure it was his dream. And then when you get to the situation and you unravel, like you go, who am I? What am I even doing this for? So I think if we can impart like it's your, not in a mean way, but like it's your life, if you want to be an artist, if you want to do this, you go do it, be respectful of people, work hard. That's a strong drive in us, I think, like really strong. But it takes, as a parent, not standing over going, or not going up to the coach. That's why the Iguodala story is so good for parents that have kids that aren't starting on their 5th grade team. Tell them that story. You know, I didn't start on any of my, I started 1 year of high school, my senior year, when pretty much every senior, 1 year. I played at UCLA. Like, that doesn't make sense. But it's because I didn't make that the reason. I'm not starting, I'm not playing. Or when I had a problem with my coach, I came home and said, this guy's tough. My dad said, go talk to him. How many parents now go, you go talk to the coach? No. They go, I got this, son. I'll handle this. Or that's what we miss. So if I'm raised maybe differently, and I should give my parents credit, then I can't make that. If I don't have them kind of looking out for me, then maybe I don't make it. Yes.
I know that you've got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You've got to be on the radio. So
Yeah.
we have about 5.
I'll take like 1 or 2. I can talk and walk. Yeah, 2 more. I'll do 2 more. Sorry. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Which championship is more meaningful to you personally, and your take on Jordan Bell's dunk the other night?
I talked to him about that today. The first championship is like I hate, this is a stupid example, but it's the only one I can come up with. It's like your first kid. There's never one that can replace your first child. Like it's not that you don't love, it's just that moment, the first time you do it, it's like I said, for me it was like, and I didn't expect it either. I didn't think we were going to win. Jordan Bell, if you don't know, he did some at the end of our game where he threw the ball off the backboard and dunked it. It's generational. Like, as I go through this, what my generation, yours, our 20-year-olds, we don't view things the same way. So we talk about, I don't understand why kids are texting. Well, you know what? You don't really need to, it's happening, right? So now what are we doing about it, right? Like, it's not for us to understand or not. It's going. We're not stopping that train. That's left the station. So I had to talk with him about there's going to be a segment that doesn't like that. There's going to be a segment that really likes it. You just got to understand that. And so he understood that. Yeah, sorry, this is a lot, yeah.
So I'm reading Wooden, A Lifetime of Observations. Did you get a chance to meet Coach Wooden, and do you have any notable stories about him?
Yeah, I did. He came around UCLA. My favorite stories of him were not anything, I think Maya Angelou says she says this, she says, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they won't forget how you made them feel. That's what I remember about him. For someone of his stature to be as humble as he was, we sat there at lunch one time, and he listened, and he wasn't arrogant, and he taught more than, he called himself a teacher more than a coach. And he was deep, like a deep person, like real deep, like not, when I say deep, I don't mean philosophical, but a very grounded, like, I know what's right, and I know what's like, it's my family, it's my wife, it's right and wrong, and I know what it is, and you could feel him be centered in all that. Whereas, it's hard to meet people like that. We're all kind of like twisting in the wind, so I remember a peacefulness about him. And obviously, you can read, you know what he did. I know what he did too, but I think he did it because more of that than the pyramid and all that stuff. Sorry I don't have more time, guys, but I got to do this other thing. So thank you very much. Yeah.